So maybe God is not this all-knowing, omnipotent figure that we've always been told. Maybe he is learning and growing and evolving in real time as we go, using all living creatures and the universe as this developmental sandbox to further his evolution. Now, there's something called process theology that discusses just this, and it's fascinating. And I was also listening to Tom Campbell, who's amazing, talk about the transition from the Old Testament to the New Testament, and he said it in a way that I'd never heard discussed before, and I'm about to break that down. It'll blow your mind. It's so cool. And it mimics like how the shamans go through this initiation process. So like a lot of shamans will, when they initiate the next shaman, they'll take them through this almost like death and rebirth process. And the whole point of it is, in the middle of that, you have this spiritual awakening, like a Kundalini type moment, and it changes everything. It completely changes and transforms you as a person, almost like a butterfly, you know, metamorphosizing out of a caterpillar. It's amazing. So when you look at the Old Testament into the New Testament, the Old Testament showed this vengeful God, very jealous and spiteful and dark and twisted. And the way Tom Campbell lays it out is, well, in the beginning, God, what he calls the larger consciousness system, created the whole universe and everything in it as this like sandbox, this developmental tool to grow and to learn. But you can't grow and learn by yourself. So you partition yourself off into all these little people, you know, individuated units of consciousness, what Tom Campbell calls it. And then all those people and all those beings and creatures, whatever, go out there in the universe, bump into each other and have experiences. And they learn and grow along the way. And they feed that information back up to Source or God. And that's how God learns and grows. So what we're actually in is this basically virtual reality simulator that's entire purpose is to feed all this information up to God so that God can get smarter and grow. It's like we're watching a quantum computer learn from the inside out. Okay? Now, in the beginning, like back in the Old Testament days, God was kind of fresh. Like this was kind of new. So God had created these beings and was put rules in place and said, okay, guys, y'all are in my world, you know, respect, you know, represent, do what I say. But they had free will. Now, when the beings have free will, they're not always going to do what you say. So sometimes they did opposite of what he said, and he got mad, vengeful, spiteful, and did all sorts of twisted shit, right? And then, fast forward through some dark times and dark ages, then we have Jesus. And Jesus comes. And Jesus is telling people the opposite. That no. You have the power within you. You have a spark of divinity within you. You can heal. You can manifest. You are important. You are an eternal being. And people are like, whoa, dude, this is way different than what we were told before. I like this, right? And then they crucified Jesus, and that symbolized sort of this spiritual awakening, right? This transformation from the old to the new. It was the pivotal tipping point, okay? Now, after that comes a completely different form of Christianity. It comes the New Testament. Love and light, you're all God's children, God loves you, you know, all these kinds of things. And that's the exact opposite of what we're told before. Back in the day, we were told to respect and obey God or you'll be punished forever. Now we're told, hey, we all make mistakes, man. You know, we're all God's children. He loves you no matter what. And you're an eternal being. And you're like, whoa, where'd this come from? Well, if you've ever been around someone who's had like a near-death experience or any sort of Kundalini spiritual awakening, I have, okay? I can tell you, I'm a dramatically different person now than I was 5-10 years ago, for sure. I mean, it's black and white, man. So this seems to have happened with God itself. We are watching the transformation, the evolution, the learning process. We're watching it from the inside out. We're like the cells looking out at the body, being like, whoa, that was wild, man. He used to be mean and bad and vengeful and evil. And then he had this like spiritual awakening and now he's all nice and loving and everything. Are we inside of God, watching God, creator, whatever you want to call it, like grow and learn and develop? Well, that would make a lot of sense because that, according to Tom Campbell, who knows more about this than probably anyone in the universe, look into him if you don't know, that is what's happening. But he doesn't say God because he's not religious, so he just calls it the larger consciousness system. We're inside this biological computer that is learning and growing. And we, as the people inside, we're the little circuits that are doing all the computation and having all the experiences and feeding all that data back up. We're the ones that God or the computer or the larger consciousness system needs. It needs us to be doing all this work because we're pivotal. It's learning from us. So as we're going through life and we're having all these mistakes and all these experiences, it's learning from all of that. But it's not just learning and putting it in some database somewhere. It's growing and evolving, developing, and we're watching it in real time. How freaking powerful is that? And that explains the Old Testament to New Testament. That explains Old Testament, Jesus, New Testament. We just experienced and lived through and were part of internally a spiritual awakening, a Kundalini type initiation process of what we call God. Wow. Wow, guys. Holy shit. Let me know. What do y'all think about that? Have a beautiful day.